We can get started. Thank you, Andy, for being with us today. I appreciate it. And thank you guys for hopping on to learn about emergency preparedness. I'll let Andy take it away and introduce himself with the Alpena City Fire Department.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the ones that showed up. I appreciate it. We can still do this again with maybe more people, but hey, happy to do what we have here. I'm Andy Marceau. I've been here at the City of Alpena for 27 years, working on 28 now. Worked up from a firefighter, paramedic to lieutenant to a captain to now deputy chief. And with the title I really like is community risk reduction. It's a new name for fire marshal, but I do many things in our community, from this new emergency preparedness talk to put in car seats, smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms, fire investigations, fire inspections, lots of little titles in our community. So I'm very active in my community. Um, Please, at any given time, you don't have to go into the chat and put your hand up. Just unmute yourself and please ask the question, and I'll do my best to answer it. If I don't know the answer, I will find it for you or direct you in the direction. So um, I'll talk about like at this as I go through the slides, how things happen and in my community during the most recent ice storm, where this all came from and how unprepared we were. I'm going to tell you right now, I had a saying, the first 72 is on you. I heard this and I told, again, Sydney, is it? Uh, that Lenny Avery is a gentleman that is a grant writer in our community. He lived in New Orleans all his life. And he said that's what he learned through all the hurricanes. 72 was on you. So it means the first 72 is on you. So when you start planning, now that we don't have an event, but start planning your water supply or your dry goods or whatever you're going to eat, drink, and need. Plan for 72 hours. And after that 72 hours, there's shelters. There should be things set up that you should be aware of. And it really made sense. So I'm really pushing it here in Alpena County. Um, and just trying to be more prepared. It's not if, it's when we have that next event. I'm a firm believer this ice storm, maybe not to this extent where everything was out, but I think this is going to be the trend. I'm a person that builds ice rinks in the backyard for my kids for many, many years, and it's getting harder and harder in northern Michigan to build ice rinks. We do not have the cold in the snow that we once did. So that's my 2 cents, but I'll get started. If you have any questions, please just unmute yourself and fire away. We'll see where this takes us. All right. Oh no. So what happened there? Hold on. What do I have to do to forward this on? I thought I could just push enter, but I got the arrow here. Perfect. So what is a natural disaster? Up here, we always thought it was a snowstorm, right? A winter storm where we're going to get snow. We get some extreme heat like we had a couple weeks ago, 90 degrees, but it was 2 or 3 days. We, Pena County don't see a lot of wildfires, but we do know they happen more in the middle of the state, Mayo area, where they have those jack pines. So dumb things, but it's a sudden event causing major damage or disruption. I think we know the ice storm obviously caused that. Whoever thought we'd have only one gas station open in Alpena County? Unbelievable. And just know what hazards are in your common area. I think most everybody on here, we all think of a snowstorm, right? That's our first one. We could have some flooding, but it's more regional. A flood's not going to usually take out the whole area. So, yeah. So flooding, just a couple things. We just saw it in Texas, how devastating it can be. They just didn't have the system or just didn't think it was going to get as bad as it did. I think we're all going to learn from that. We have rivers and lots of water around here in Alpena County. The first Saturday of every month during warm weather months. So I think it's like from April to October. We do the sirens. Them are huge. If you hear those sirens going off, you should find some way to get communication, get to a phone, get to a computer if it's available. And that was another thing we found. People didn't have power. How could we tell the people where the shelters were, where to go? And so, that was unique for us. And we're trying to work through that, I can tell you, in Alpena County. But Flooding. Stay informed about where, if you're in a flood zone, where are your houses? Are you in a flood zone? Could you flood? Are you close to the river? You know, never drive through flooded roads. Turn around, don't drown. It may look like it's not very deep, but it doesn't take much water to sweep those cars off into the river that has now been made. It happens. You see it all the time on the news. People think, oh, it's okay to drive this little car through, and boom, it just picks the car up and floats it down the river. Now you got people stranded in the car, and it's not good. So um, prepare to shelter or evacuate, depending on the warning. Depending on how much time you have, these people in Texas just didn't have the time to get out. They didn't have the time to do anything because the water was such a wall of water. It was ripping the foundations off the houses. I mean, because you see the people through the hurricanes over the years, they get on their roofs. That's the highest ground. Where would you go, you know, if this happened? Are you ready to go? You know, I know I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but people didn't realize. People now are like, man, I'm going to fill my car up every night. I want to make sure I have at least a half a tank or more of gas because they didn't think about it. It was a convenience that we had all the time. But do you have enough gas to get out of there? Um, we learned that in Florida, their gas stations are mandated that they have to have generators so that during hurricane season, they can always pump gas. We all know they also turn the roads around, right? There's not two-way traffic during hurricanes. It's only going away. They do things. They're better prepared for that. Not saying we had to do any of that in Alpena, but just stuff to think about. Uh, Tornadoes, we are not exempt from this. It seems like more and more tornadoes. We've had, I think, almost 8 to 10 already hit the lower part of our state. Not wide damage, but we have to be prepared. When it says there's a tornado watch, a warning, or potential, we can't just say, oh, it's never happened here. We have to be prepared. I know at my house, I have a crawl space, and I have the capabilities to get down in there very quickly. It's important to have a place. It's inside a bathroom with no windows. Cover your head with a blanket, a pillow, or something to try to prevent stuff that's going to fall on your head. But and if you see it, report it. Get on social media, get out to a website or something, report it to somebody. But get help. Maybe you need to have a NOAA radio, a weather radio down in your crawl space or your safe space. And then the last one that we are moving in Alpena County, it's called Code Red. And you can go online and look at it, folks. It's similar. I used to have one, oh God, I can't, Smart 911, and that was quite a cost of money. This is free, and you can put as little or much information as you want, but it will send out alerts to dispatch if there's an event going to be or potentially happening in your area, and they can do like geofencing and set up an area. Like I live in Alpena, and 12 miles out is Sneak, Sanborn Township. Well, if it's not going to hit Alpena, we don't need the alert, right? We don't want people in Alpena to be maybe flocking to the wrong way. They can set it to hit anybody in Sanborn Township and alert those people that, hey, you got a potential tornado coming. Get out of there. Move. Go to safety. Whatever they can give it in time frame. So, winter storms and ice storms. Again, I really think when it comes to a normal winter storm, we are prepared. If they tell us way in advance, it seems like now, and they make it way worse than it's really going to be. And if you've ever been to the Meijer or the Walmart a day or two before the storm, it's busy and everybody's buying more than they need because they think it's going to be snowmageddon or whatever. It doesn't usually get that bad because we do have snowmobiles and we do have equipment up here in northern Michigan to move it, but everybody buys and that's awesome. And they stay home, and that's good for us in EMS too. We want the people not to go out in those storms to get stuck in their cars or get in a car accident. So it is important, but you do need to be prepared. You do need to think about, is the power going to go out? Has my generator been running? If I have a generator like I do now, do I have enough food and blankets and water in the house? Do I have a carbon monoxide uh, detector if there's a potential for that? It's blocking something by so much snow up on the roof and it blocks your exhaust. If you're going to have to stay in your house and you lose your heat, you dress in layers, conserve heat. Start closing doors. It was just the wife and I when we were home and we had a gas fireplace, but we closed all the doors to any rooms that was not needed. And we had potential that we were going to sleep on the floor in the living room because that's where the gas fireplace was. We never had to get to that point because we also in the city, I had hot water. So I literally could heat a little bit of my house with steam. I could put the bathroom on and put a hot shower on and then open the doors and get some heat. So I didn't really get that cold in my house. But there's different things to look at. Um, do you own a generator? I do now. Does it have gas? That was a major incident. Do you have gas to run it? People are running out of gas in their generators. How many cans do you want to have around? Does it have oil? I got my generator like at midnight. I couldn't hardly see. We put some oil in it, and I go to bed and I could hear it humming. I sleep very light, and I could hear it humming. And all of a sudden at 3:30 in the morning, I didn't hear it humming no more. I thought, oh my God, it's brand new. What happened? So I go out there, and sure enough, it said low oil light. It shut off and saved it. Put some more oil in it, refueled it for gas if it needed to be, fired back up, and it ran, no problems the rest of the night. But just the little things like that. But, do you have enough electrical cords? Are they good cords? Heavy duty, not the cheap Dollar Tree, Dollar General cords that are for charging a phone or something. You need good heavy gauge wires. And absolutely, if you're going to run a generator, it needs to be away from the house, 20 feet or more. Make sure it's not any of the exhaust is not coming back into the home. And you need a carbon monoxide alarm. It's a colorless, odorless gas, and it kills way too many people every year. People were running their generators in their garages and it was just cycling back in. Not good. So, run through these in your head. Where are you going to put it? What do you need to charge? I'll just give you my example. Uh, my brother-in-law was coming home from Kansas, and we told him what was going on. He stopped in Grand Rapids and bought all these generators. I told him, I said, I only want one that runs 4 plugs. I want to run my two two refrigerators and my sub pump, and then I'd like one to make my coffee in the morning on my Keurig. That's all I could care about. And it did fine. I ran some extension cords heavy duty to the two fridges, and my sub pump pumped out my water, and I that's all I need. I don't need a big one to do everything. And I was only out about 2 days. So, but what do you need, you know, for your needs? So have an extra can of gas around or plan ahead. Any questions so far?
Andy, I have a question.
Yeah.
My husband during the ice storm was worried about our carbon monoxide alarm. We have one because we have a wood burning stove downstairs.
You have to
He
have
said
one.
that the carbon monoxide alarm should be lower to the ground because it
That that
sinks. Is that
that used to
true?
be an old false wise tale, and,
Okay.
and it is heavier than air. But I'm going to tell you, being a firefighter for 27 years, it absolutely mixes with the oxygen. And when we have a call for a carbon monoxide alarm, regardless if it's on the ground or up high, we walk in the door with our meter, and it hits right away.
Okay.
So the kinds that I put up for absolutely free are called the combo alarms, and we put them all in the ceiling.
Okay.
Because they're smoke alarm combo alarms. So we've learned a lot, right? It'll mix. These things are so sensitive, right? They go off. I mean, we've had people literally go in the garage, leave their car running because their cars are so quiet nowadays, right? And then they go in the house and it'll seep through the doors or under the doors and come in and set the carbon monoxide alarms off. It is
Mhm.
so sensitive. We've came a long ways from the days of, oh my God, it's got to be lower because it's not going to pick it up. So, but
Good to
fireplaces
know.
are absolutely the flute or the chimney gets plugged and that combustion comes back in. You don't see it. It's colorless, odorless, and it seeps back in the house. And yes, please
Mhm.
have one. Good
Yep.
question.
Thank you.
Yep. Heat waves. Again, we just had one a couple weeks ago. Hopefully, people only went outside if they had to. You know, things that you're looking for. Obviously, are you still sweating? But do you have any dizziness, nausea, confusion? Them are all signs. It's to the point of heat stroke when you quit sweating, right? And when I teach things like this, I tell people you got to drink water, not when it's happening, but before. The other good thing to eat or drink, watermelon. A lot of people like watermelon. So when I teach to my senior citizens, I tell them if you see a hot day, get a watermelon, cut it up ahead of time, and have bowls of it. That is a great source of water. Yes, what they're worried about going to make them pee more, right? They're going to have to get up in the middle of the night. And I guess that's the trade off. You're alive, you're well, but stay hydrated. We just had the flower gals out front of our fire station. I said, Gals, it's hot out here. And they're probably 65, 70. I said, drink some water. So I went inside and got them all the water and took them water. I said, now you got to take a break. We don't want to have to pick you up out here. But you can't do it when the day of, right? You got to start in advance. The other trick we use in the EMS and service is if anybody takes their hand and you pinch the back of your hand, that's called skin tenting. If it stays up for long periods of time, that's tenting. That means you're dehydrated. And I'm going to guess about I'm just going to use 75% of elderly, I don't have an age, are dehydrated because they don't want to have to get up in the middle of the night. They don't drink enough fluid. So you just take your back of your hand and pinch it. If it comes right back, elastic goes right back, you're not dehydrated. If it stays up tenting, you're probably a bit on the dehydrated. Everybody do that? All right. Um, Use cool centers or stay indoors. You know, if it's too hot and you decide go shopping at Walmart, take a little extra time at Walmart, right? Enjoy their air conditioning. Maybe go to the subway like we have in Alpena and have lunch inside and stay there a little longer. Um, Go to Home Depot, walk around. You know, get under a tree, get a fan on you. We talked about opening cooling centers in Alpena for those last 3 days that we had in the 90s, but I didn't think we needed it for 3 days. I think we live in northern Michigan. We are prepared. We can handle 3 days of hot weather, right? It's not the days to go cut your grass. It's not your day to go paint the blacktop black. It's the days to, you stay inside during that peak time, which is what, 10 to 4, 11 to 4, and stay inside and conserve the energy until it gets nicer outside. You can go out and enjoy it. Um, I have to always talk about fire safeties in the house. You got to keep flammables away from your stove and heaters. Never leave cooking unattended. What I mean by that, yes, you can absolutely put something in the oven. You can put that turkey in the oven. You can put that ham in the oven and walk away because the oven is contained. Like the fire is not going to come outside the oven if you keep the door closed. But it's when people go put something on the stove, like grease, they're going to cook French fries or something, and then maybe they're tired, or maybe they go sit down in the living room and their favorite show comes on, Dr. Phil, and they get so ingrained in watching Dr. Phil that they forget that they put something on the stove. What happens? You know, so if you're going to be cooking, that's your chore for right now. Cooking, something's on the stove. Stay in that vicinity. Um, Check cords and avoid overloading outlets. Again, I mentioned it earlier. I am not big on buying those cheap white, brown, or green cords from the Dollar Tree, the Dollar General. They break down. We see them a lot in our apartment complexes here in Alpena. People are on a fixed income, and I get it. And they plug them in, and they can plug three or four more things. And then they even lay them on the ground and put a a rug over top of them and walk across them all the time. We can see those break down and actually start a fire. They heat up and can start a fire under that rug, which could start a bigger fire. So please think about it, uh, in your home. Don't use them if you don't have to. Smoke alarms. And CO detectors, if you live in Alpena County, we do it for absolutely free. I can ask for your information later. If you're in the city, you give me your name, your number, I call you, I set up a time, I come to your house, I put these up for nothing. I get them from the state of Michigan through a grant that our governor has gave for the last 2 years. So they're they're good for 10 years. What we recommend, one in every level of the home. So if you have a basement, but nobody sleeps down there, one in the basement, one on the main level, and then maybe one upstairs, and one in every bedroom. Because we really teach close before you doze. We want people to, before they go to bed at night, close that bedroom door, right? So we want one inside and one outside of the house room. And we only put in 10-year lithium battery alarms. So you're not even supposed to be able to buy alarms with a battery anymore. The only ones you can buy with battery are the hardwired with a battery backup. So they're hardwired into your electrical system, and then the battery is only there for like the ice storm. So we never lose but you should not be able to buy the ones with batteries anymore in Michigan. They passed the law almost a year ago. So hopefully those are coming off the store shelves. Uh, and it says install a CO detector. I'd buy the combo. That's what I put up. That's what I have in my house. It's so much easier. And if you want to buy two of them, one in the basement and one up on the main level, that's fine. But at least one CO detector in your home. This is a program I teach to the NFPA. We'll just briefly talk some of it we've already talked about, so I won't take a lot of time on it. But they do say test your smoke alarms monthly. I don't want people of older ages up on ladders, so you just take your broom handle and hit them and set them off. That way, and you don't have to change the batteries yearly anymore. Some people still have those, so we still talk about it. But preferably get the 10-year lithium. They're free. We put them up for nothing. Number two, stop, drop, and roll if you ever catch on fire. Now, I know as we get older, it's harder to get down to the ground or you don't want to fall to the ground. So what we can use is a wall right here. Maybe you can't see it, but I have a wall right next to me. You could roll your back on this wall and smother a fire, right? So you use whatever you have, or you could use this wall to slither down and then you can roll on the ground. Now, maybe you're not going to be able to get back up. I hope you have your cell phone with you because I'm a big proponent. Take that cell phone everywhere you go. Too many times people, all their laundry is down in the basement, and they go down there to do the laundry. Take that cell phone with you. I can't tell you how many times in 27 years I've picked up elderly people at the bottom of the steps and been sitting there for 2 to 3 days. Okay, that cell phone goes everywhere. It's a lifeline. And that's where you could use it. If you stop, drop, and roll, you put the fire out, you can still call 911 for help. Stay low during a fire. Get low and go, we teach the kids. We teach them check the door with the back of your hand. If the door's hot, you can't go out that way. You got to go out a secondary way. So very important. If you can get low, get out of that fire and get to the most direct exit. So very important. We already talked about don't overload the circuits. Practice a fire drill, even if you do it in your head. If I'm sleeping tonight and sleeping, I hear the smoke alarm go off and I crawl over to the door and the door is hot. Can I get out my window? Does my window go up and down? Does it go side to side? Does it crank open? How am I going to get out that window? Is it can I just get my head out? That might be far enough. Do I sleep upstairs? What am I going to do if I sleep upstairs? Do I have a fire ladder in my room? Do I have a phone next to my bed? What we teach, if you go to your door and you can't get out your door, if it's upstairs, we teach you to get to your window, open the window, push the screen out, and I'll call it a yard sale. You start throwing things out. I tell the kids to throw out their stuffed animals, their blankets, their homework, and of course they laugh because the teachers, their homework, anything, books, anything. You make a yard sale. So when the big red fire truck arrives, one firefighter is going to do a 360. They're going to come around your house and they're going to see all this stuff on the ground. Hopefully you're still responsive and you're going to yell, help, help, I need help, I'm up here. Or if heaven forbid, and I don't tell kids this, you're unresponsive because the smoke got in your room, we're going to know you were there, right? And we're going to come up and get you. We tell the little kids, don't hide from us. We're going to look and sound different. Don't hide under your beds. Don't hide in your closets. Don't think you can go jump in the bathtub and turn the water on. That's not going to help you. You got to get low and go. Stay by that window. Uh, if you have fire extinguishers, I'm not a big fan of them. I currently have none in my house. I have a wife and two kids. My son's 19, my daughter's 21. They're not firefighters. Everything in my house can be replaced except them. It's insured for a reason. I'm not trying to burn my stuff down, but I don't want them to play firefighter. There's so limited capabilities of a fire extinguisher. That little fire extinguisher is 10 pounds. It's not going to put out a lot of fire. And if you are going to use it, you're going to have high adrenaline. You're going to be worried, and it's only going to maybe dampen the fire. But you have to have your back to the door. You're spraying it with your back to the door. If something changes, you drop that thing and you back out and get out of there. But know the limitations. You know, keep lighters and matches safe. Obviously, if you have kids or grandkids, just keep them safe and clean chimneys regularly. I'm surprised we didn't have more fires during the ice storms. People were firing up their fireplaces that haven't been checked or haven't had a fire in years. So, and that's a hard one to find somebody in northern Michigan. That's a dying uh, breed per se of a career of going around and having chimneys in the city. People used to have fireplaces all the time. Now they don't now. And then you get out to the country, it's all the outdoor wood burning stoves. So they're not a factor. That is hard to find somebody to clean your chimney, but you could, try to do your own, but be safe. Escape planning, two exits out of every room. Practice your escape planning. Have everything you need right by your bed. If you walk with a walker, that walker better be there and ready to go. If you think you need some medications, they better be in your purse, and your purse is next to your bed. You can't be running around trying to gather things up during a fire. You got to get out. You can't be chasing your pets around. You got to get out. So important. But plan for assistance if you're limited. Like I said, a walker or uh, you know, uh, a cane, whatever you need, and absolutely close before you doze. That even that cheap little hollow door will give you more time to get out your second way. When I first started in the fire service, they said you had about 12 minutes to get out. Now they're all the way down to 2 minutes. We've lost all this time because everything we put in our house, it's all petroleum based. And so things burn hotter and faster. And I can tell you without a doubt, I've been a firefighter for 27 years. It's absolutely true. So please plan ahead and get out as quick as you can. Uh, any questions so far? We're not going to go another 30 minutes, but I'm going to talk about some fall hazards. Any questions? Fall prevention, falls are our number one call here at the city of Alpena. We do 1 to 2 a day, so we're 700 to 800 falls a year that we go on. Some people are injured really bad. Some people are just need lift assist up. But things that we see that are causing a lot of falls, unsecured rugs. The elderly love rugs. From the minute you walk in the house, down the hallway, in front of every chair. They're trying to conserve that carpeting, when really now they should be going to this laminate or this other stuff, which is just so much easier to maintain. But rugs everywhere throughout the house. Things are not well lit. They don't have a lot of lighting. Lighting are so easy. You can go to those Dollar Tree or and get night lights that go on at night, or the ones that you just push. So, have maybe a night light, and then when you get to your hallway, you push it on. They're so easy. Think about grab bars. When you are in the bathroom, get good grab bars that get mounted right directly into a stud. Do not get the ones that are suction cupped. They are not a guarantee that they're going to work. They may work for a little bit, then they may lose their suction. So please, uh, don't use those. Wear shoes with a grip, whatever works for you. I'm not here to tell you you got to have this shoe or that shoe, but something that's not slippery, something that gives you a little bit of grip. And then have your medications, whatever you take with your doctor, make sure you're taking the right medication. The other one we see a lot of is people love our Alpina News. Okay. Yes, it's great getting the Alpina News every morning, but please, folks, you don't need it the first thing in the morning. We see a lot in that, October, November timeframe, and then in the late February, March, where we get a little bit of thaw, sunny days come out, right? We get a little bit of standing water, then it freezes, and then we get that a little bit of snow on top of it that you don't know about it, and then you walk out there to your mailbox to get that Alpena News, and down you go, and break a hip or something worse. If you got to go get this paper, wait a little bit, or if you still think it, feed the chickens, and really not chickens. Put some salt out, right? Before you go, salt it as you go out. So go out your door, throw some salt out, get some salt there, then add a little more so you can get there safely. Take your time, or just wait till it warms up to get that Alpina News, or go online, right? Now you can go online. So just things that we see here in the EMS world. These are just, again, back to the NFPA, steps to safety, preventing falls, stay physically active to maintain strength and balance. That's whatever you can do. Get up every morning. I had a 90-some-year-old guy that lived over here in Alpena, by the river. He would go down in his basement and walk laps. He was 90 years old. He had how many laps he could do to get a mile. He did that every single day until a few days before he died. These people that live in a compartment complex, I said, you guys have a built-in walking track, right? You get to walk out of your apartment. You got a hallway. Some have grab bars on them. You can stay on the main level if you're really good. You can walk up a couple flights of stairs, walk across, come back down, whatever you can do. But try to stay active, doing something. Could be sitting in your chair and just standing up and sitting back down, but do something. Um, Keep your home well lit and clutter free. We have a lot of clutter on stairs. We have a lot of big homes, and people used to have families that the kids used to sleep upstairs, but now they don't. They close them off. But now the stairwells, you can see Halloween, you can see Easter, you can see Christmas, you can see Thanksgiving, all on the stairwells, right? And it clutters it up. And now one of the kids calls and said, "Hey, Mom, can you go find that blanket for me? I need to show it to somebody." Mom goes up the stairs to get that blanket that's upstairs, and now all this fall hazard on the side of the stairs. I see it all the time. Lots of clutter. Um, we already talked about smoke alarms regularly. Space heaters, 3 feet around. Don't have anything around them for 3 feet. Make sure you buy the better ones that if they fall over, they buzz and they turn off on themselves. That's a must. I think all of them have that now, so that shouldn't be a worry. Don't run them at night, and don't run them when you're not home, right? They should be shut off. We talked about cooking with care, plan your and practice your home escape plan. Talked about grab bars, non-slip mats in the bathroom. And to add to that one, if you have spilled water in the bathroom because you got out of the bathtub or the shower and there's water on the ground, clean it up now. Don't forget about it. Don't forget, oh, I'll come back and get it. I go in my bedroom, I get finished getting dressed. Now I go out and somebody calls me, or I go out and get my cup of coffee. And then an hour later, I go back in the bathroom and I didn't clean that water up. Slip hazard, right? Clean it up right away. And just, review those medications with your healthcare provider. Always follow up with whenever you get new meds, see how they interact, see how you feel with them. So it's always a good one. All right, where are we going from here? Now we're really talking about back to emergency response, putting it all together, right? Build a kit. Yeah, you may look silly, but includes water, food, meds, a flashlight, a radio, any certain documents, a cell phone charger. them are a must. You don't have to have a lot of things, but you should have all those things there. We had a couple flashlights that I forgot we even had. They crank and they create their own power. Wow, they were awesome. They looked like a nightlight. I don't even know where my wife bought them, but we used them. They really worked. Um, so things like that. Have spare batteries around, or make sure you're maintaining this stuff. And then include your glasses if you need them, and any hearing aids, pet supplies, basic first aid kit, and a big one, cash. Who would have thought we had to have cash during our ice storm? But it was golden, right? If you needed because I know Walmart was still open, but they had no electronics, but they could sell stuff. Other stores were doing that. How God, just craziness. And then gas for your generator and make sure you run it. My plan for mine is probably in August, maybe late August, early September. Bring my generator out, fire it up, let it run for 20, 30 minutes, replace some of the gas, make sure the oil's good, and then put it away. And I already got mine. There's oil with it. I got an extension cord with it. I got another gas can that I use right now in the summer to do my lawnmower, but I'm going to make sure that's full. So I have over 20 hours of fuel I will have ready to go. The little things I'm going to do. So, um, and then the first 72 is on you. I'm really pushing this. So whenever we have an incident, do you have enough in your house to last 72 hours with you and your family? Do you have enough medicine? Do you have enough water? Do you have enough food? You know, all that stuff. And I know you're not going to be able to cook, but do you have a can opener, right? The old fashioned can opener, pork and beans, that they can be eaten cold, stuff like that. Is there things in your pantry that you can pull out and make a meal with? Something to eat, right? uh, a loaf of bread in the freezer that you rotate every so often, that you take out and make peanut butter and jellies, you know, can be done during an ice storm. You're going to lose the stuff anyway, so you go that route. If you have a generator, then you can still do some other cooking too. So make a plan. Who needs to know where you're going? Who is your emergency contacts? No evacuation routes. Obviously, in our small communities, it's not that hard. But if for some reason the Devil's River blocked off US 23 south down by Osneek and Squaw Bay area, I can't go that way. Which way can I go? You know, talk to their neighbors and friends, and hopefully we are going to do a better job in Alpena. We're going to try to have a list of local shelters that are going to be ready to go. We're looking at the Aplex in Alpena, which is our biggest sports complex, but we're trying to get a generator for that so we can fire it up when the need is there. We can cook meals. We can put multi-families in there with cots. Yes, we'll have to bring cots in, but at least it'll be a warm, dry area that they can charge their cell phone. We can feed them, and we can separate the families and the men and the women. And there's also a place for kids to play. So we are looking at that here in Alpena. So hopefully your communities might be looking for something too. Stay informed. Sign up for alerts. Like I said, code red. It was hard to listen to your local radio or local news, but try to get on social media, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you Snapchat like the kids do. And then you can always go to different sites. FEMA's got some great information. Ready.gov, alpena.mi.us, the city website, Alpena County. Look around and see what you can find that can help you before the emergency. Things that we really, found during the ice storm, special considerations for seniors. They couldn't get their oxygen equipment to work. They were scared. It was dark, it was cold, and they were running out of oxygen. That spells disaster. So we're looking at where could we have brought those folks in. We're looking at our senior center right behind our fire station. Should they get a generator And then we bring seniors there. Why? Because it's close to us, EMS, to take care of them, to change their bottles. We also have an oxygen supply company just a block up the road. So if we have them close, it'll make it easier on us. Things we're looking at. Plan your transportation around that mobility, which if we have to, we'll go get you with the ambulance in Alpena, but coordinate with caregivers. Hopefully those caregivers were looking after these people during the ice storm. I really think your friends and family and your neighbors in a community like us, because it's so small in the city, that you should be able to go out to your porch and see if you've seen the neighbor to your left and right or the ones across the street. And hopefully, even if you don't get along with them every single day, because you may have some, neighborhood squabbles, but you still care enough about them to make sure they're okay during an emergency. So just wrapping this all up, 72 is on you. Be aware, be prepared, and stay safe, right? You have to think about that. Awareness plus planning will keep your mind. We had people 2 weeks, 17 days without power. It was taxing on their mental health, right? They didn't plan for it, and nobody did. They were taking showers in different places. They couldn't eat the normal foods they were eating. They couldn't do laundry. Take things down a notch and just say, am I well, right? Meaning I'm alive. I can still get around and try to make the most of it. The more you worry about it, the worse it is. But also be prepared, right? If we do some of the things I talked about here today, and just start planning a little list of what you're going to do, hopefully that'll give you a better peace of mind. All right. Help neighbors, ask for help when needed. People don't like to ask for help. I can do it, but we really need to ask for help. I had an aunt and uncle that lived down in Florida and they had a hurricane come through there. I offered to come down there and help them, either before or after. They didn't take me up on it, but I would have been there in 20 hours. Boom, I would have been down there to help them. Whatever they need, I will do. And put that olive branch out there to your friends and family. I don't know if anybody has any questions. We're about 45 minutes in. I want to thank you all. Thank you for your time. Stay safe and prepared. And it's not if this next event happens, it's when. They say this is the 50-year ice storm. I'm probably not, I know I'm not going to be here in 50 years. But, you know, there's going to be other things. So don't think we're exempt from it because we live in this great God's country of Northern Michigan. Any questions? Thoughts?
Yes, it was very informative and very helpful because I'm unfortunately totally unprepared. So,
You're no different, Bunny. I mean, all of us were. I was telling Sydney beforehand, I didn't own a generator. I lived a half a mile outside the city. I've really never lost power for more than, I don't know, probably 5, 6 hours. And again, I never even thought about my sub pump that was pumping water beforehand. And obviously, I quit pumping water for, a while till I got a generator. And I had nothing down there to get damaged because I was smart enough to put everything in bins and it wasn't going to hurt it, but still, it was an inconvenience. So I think I truly do believe we will be prepared going forward for a little while. But just like everything, we'll get complacent and we'll stop preparing. If you put that water down, in that case of water in your garage, there'll be someday you'll say, "Oh God, I'm out of water. I'm going to drink that water," and you'll forget to put it back as we get farther away from the ice storm. So just think
yeah,
about that.
true.
Anybody else?
I don't think so. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate you hopping on and teaching
Oh
us a
yeah.
little bit about emergency preparedness. I do agree. Nobody saw this ice storm coming this past spring, so
No,
it's good to be prepared and ready because we definitely were not.
we were not, but it's going to happen. So, and there's lots of, I'm sure I maybe didn't cover every natural disaster. And we talk about this. This one was so large because it took out for us all of Alpena County. A tornado usually is going to have a swath, right? And not everything is going to be out. You're going to be able to maybe go, as I keep using Osneek, or maybe up to Rogers City, but this was widespread. So it really uh, took a toll on us. So
Well,
all
thank you,
right,
Andy. I appreciate
thank
you
you.
sharing with us. And if there's no other questions, I'll let us go a little early.
Yeah.
And Andy, it's okay if we contact you if we do have questions later
Oh,
on,
absolutely.
if
If
we
my
fall
contact
asleep.
information's there. Yep, my contact information's there. I absolutely love to talk about this stuff. And if you have primarily Alpena County, because I don't travel, I get paid by the city. But if you have something in Alpena County that you want me to speak on behalf of, I really hope you guys can see that I enjoy my job. And I am very passionate about it. If I can make a difference, I'm all about it.
That's very refreshing, Andy.
Thank you.